Hello everybody, back here again for another Idiot's Guide woodworking. And what I ended up making myself today was a zero clearance plate for my table saw. This is a really crappy skill saw. I've had it, God, I'd say since the early 90s probably. Not a big fan of it, but I've got other things coming up for cost. I'm not going to be able to buy myself a new table saw. And all this thing came with was this little piece of metal right here, which I was also never a big fan of having that metal that close to my saw blade. But I was trying to cut some little rabbets down inside my old barn board here to make a little mirror frame I'm going to make with it, and it was just pain in the butt. I want to drop in past. It was just, I had to hold it level until I got next to the fence. I had to hold it level to dip in. As you can see right here, it dips in. I'd have to pick it back up and then push it over, and it's just, it wasn't giving me a straight level cut. It was dangerous, could have caused kickback, could have caused pinching, a whole bunch of problems. Unfortunately, this table saw is not made for the concept of having a different blade guard put in it. So definitely giant pain in the ass. What I ended up doing was I got myself a piece of 1/4 inch, basically paneling I guess is what it would have been, out of my scrap bin, and decided to cut it. I did have more video of this. Unfortunately, I deleted it without paying attention and hadn't downloaded it on my Mac yet, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to show you the end results, I guess, of what I came up with. And what I done, if you notice, the corners on the right side here are square, and the left side are rounded. So I did that just with ripping it on the table saw, went over and took it on the sander. I also ran this down. As you can see, I kind of sanded through the top layer, trying to keep it as flush as I can. This board, unfortunately, is so thin because it's not made for wood, it's made for metal. And I don't want to have metal up against my blade. You can't do a zero clearance blade with metal, clearly. So what I ended up doing is just basically on the bottom side, as you can see, with my disc sander, I went ahead and just pushed that corner in to cut out that groove and the depth. I could have set up a router, a whole bunch of other things, but I didn't think it was going to be very handy. Unfortunately, to make this thin enough so it's actually flush, the wood got too thin and it ripped the screw through. So I've got my screws are actually protruding just a tiny little bit when I put them in. This one here is a little bit thicker. Apparently, and this actually sets, I guess, more true than this side does, even though this wood got thinner. So I think the depth from this edge to this edge is thinner over here. So what I might do if I try and redo this, if I keep this saw, I'm going to come in and cut these little tabs here off completely with my grinder. I'm also going to come in here and I'm going to grind these little lips, if you see right here. That lip, I'm going to grind that all down to just that level. So that'll give me another probably 1/64 of an inch, which will make this wood a lot thicker. I also might come in here with a much thicker board, maybe in like a 3/4, and then I'll router out that corner and make it fit a lot more sturdy. But then I've got this lid in here, got my screws put on it, and of course, in order to keep from ripping the plywood out horribly bad, which it did get so ripped out, I grabbed myself just a piece of scrap wood, it's a little 1x4, and I clamped that down right here on top, and then just cranked the saw blade up. So worked out well. You can see I started to crank it up there, realized I was going to be wider than my board, so I turned my board the opposite direction, clamped it down, and screwed it up through. So definitely by no means a great, fantastical job. If this was for somebody else, if I was making one for a friend or trying to sell an insert somebody, I definitely would have thrown this thing away and started completely over. I do actually have some fairly nice acrylic that I might use eventually, but I'm not sure how it's going to work. We'll see what happens there. The biggest thing is trying to get the screws flush down in, and with this wood so thin, I tried drilling it out with a larger drill bit, then screwed through it, and it's not, I don't know, it's not great. I did lay the metal piece on and get the holes, but of course the drill wasn't a drill press. Didn't stay perfectly straight, but it does what it does, and it's as good as I need it to be for what I'm doing. My plan is actually just go ahead and leave this insert in because I hate having that big a gap next to this blade the whole time. As you can see, when this little guard here is in, that's a 1/2 inch, actually it's over 1/2 inch gap there. And it drives me nuts. I've always hated it. So I'm going to stick with my little crappy plywood until I get tired of it and feel like building a new one. Then I'll actually build myself a new one out of, like I said, probably 3/4 inch solid wood. I've got some oak laying around here. Heck, for that matter, I might even use some of this 150-year-old barn board. Super dense grain, great looking wood. Run it through my planer a few times, get the thickness I want. Grind out the aluminum. That's all this table top is here, is just aluminum, so it'll be super easy to grind out. And all I have for the screws are these little tabs here that slide on. so I can take them off, don't have to worry about them getting damaged in the grinding process, put them back in place, plop that baby right in. So, because as of right now I have a weird groove sanded out of the side to cover those tabs, and that also drives me nuts. So that's what I got going for now. The other thing I'm thinking about doing is maybe build myself a table sled, and if I do that, I can also help eliminate the zero clearance insert there too. So that's all I know for today. Have yourself a safe and wonderful, and thanks for watching. Talk to you tomorrow.